Why should you journal? It just makes me depressed when I read it later. So I just don't want to journal. That's what I hear a lot about. And that was me before. I had sketchbooks and sketchbooks full of my writing. And I would be like, oh, God, girl, you're obsessed with the dumbest things. And I'd be sad that the same things would arise over and over. And I don't think they really processed much. Yeah, like maybe I got something off my mind, but it didn't actually help me resolve things. So that's where I came up with another technique for journaling, and I call it box journaling. I know, normally we want to think outside of the box, but for this journaling, we want to be inside. And I'll show you what it looks like. So I have pages and pages and pages of this kind of journaling. Give you a quick little glance at it. So there's different boxes. This is it continued to evolve over the years, over my process, and it has the date. So you start with the date, and on the date you get really fancy, just doodling, starting to open up your mind, start as like a meditative process. And then you go into the feeling box, and after that, the what I think box. Now, the I think box is not just about analyzing the situation or dumping what the situation is that feels bad. It's trying to get to the thoughts that are behind the emotions. And from there, I go to voice of compassion. And that's a really important box. So it's finding the counter thoughts that created some negative emotions for you. And it's not just the opposite, and it's not just cheerleading, it's actually therapeutic other realities of the hard, heavy thoughts. Because we don't just have one way we can see things, there's a different narrative you can look at and feel in your body, and it can change your emotions. That voice of compassion uh, takes some work to get to the heart of it. Both of those boxes do. And then I wrap it up with something creative. And that's a lot of times what happens in that box is it's related. It somehow it tells me something different than my writing, but it's not pre-planned. You don't have to be this literal. I mean, it can be much more abstract. It might just be blobs of color. It could be just little doodle points. But what it does is it wraps it all up in just a final processing, that nonverbal. So you're not putting any words necessarily in that box. You're just really trying to process it nonverbally. And it helps put a nice bow on your journal. And after that, and I used like really nice watercolor, a thicker sketchbook paper, and I feel really inspired by these journal pages now. There's something that I can look back and I can really learn from. They show me patterns in my thought and the evolution of my voice of compassion. And I learn from them again and again when I read them. I remind myself of that voice of compassion. And what's the point? So what? Who cares? Well, the result is the voice of compassion can come much quicker into my mind now, and I make better choices. So if you're making choices and acting from the perspective of your hurt voice, of your hurt child, of the really deep or difficult emotions, then you're not always making the decision that's best for you. And finding connection to that voice of compassion sooner allows you to make better choices. And overall, happier life. So, box journaling can be your ticket to strengthening your intuition, strengthening your ability to make decisions, and bring you health and happiness in your life. Pretty good, right? Would you like to learn? Contact me, and I have some dates of workshops and also individual sessions that you can book with me on box journaling. Have a great day. Jake Joy here.